Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. I'm so glad you're here. In today's episode, I'm taking some Dollar Tree fencing and I'm going to give it a winter makeover, have it glisten with sparkles and snow. I'm going to pair it with a Christmas tree and you guys are going to love how it looks. I'm also taking a little bundle of sticks that I found at the craft store and pairing it with some Christmas trees and some moss to make a really natural woodland kind of feel display. I'm going to have to try something different with it though, and you guys are going to have to let me know if you like it, so keep your eyes peeled for what I did with this. I found some of the most wonderful smelling potpourri. I'm excited to tell you about that, but I decided to use it to make a kissing ball, and it makes the most beautiful kissing ball that smells so wonderful. It's going to be perfect to put in my entryway through the holiday season and also make it smell really nice. And keeping with my theme today of having projects that are woodland themed, I thought it would be fun to make an ornament out of this cute little wicker star. I jazz it up a little bit using some pine boughs and some pine cones. It looks really rustic when it's done. I hope you guys stick around with me to see how all of these projects turn out. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. If you do like any of today's projects, remember to hit that thumbs up, but let's go make some DIYs. I'm going to take this piece of Dollar Tree fencing, and this is typically found at Dollar Tree in the springtime, but I buy them like 4 or 5 at a time. I always have some in my stash because you can do some really wonderful projects with them. So they're very easy to cut, but you may want to use an older pair of scissors. That way you're not going to ruin any, but I'm just going to cut the stakes off of the bottom. And then it just curls up like this. Now it's typically meant to go like in a straight line. You can connect one section to another section, but I'm going to bend this up into a circle shape here. And it does have these little clamps on the side, which would work just fine if you want to stop here and have them connect just like this, but it doesn't quite make the most perfect of circles. So as I'm bending this, I'm deciding, because it kind of just really wants to fold really kind of funky right there. So I decide to cut these off completely, and I'm going to use another method to close this off. So again, these are just plastic, a little bit on the thicker side, but you can still use your scissors. Just be very safe as you're doing this to not cut yourself, but they're pretty easy to cut. After I have all of the excess pieces removed, I'm just going to take some zip ties to close this. Now, it doesn't matter the color of zip ties you're going to use unless you're going to leave this black, but I'm going to spray paint mine, and so it truly doesn't matter the color of zip ties, but they're just in the automotive section at Dollar Tree. And I want to line up the edges of this so they fold really nice and neatly over one another. So I'm just going to start my zip tie. I'll do one at the bottom, and then I will do one closer to the top. Now, as I was doing this, I felt that there was a little bit of a sharpness there from where I had cut that little connector piece. So I just took my fingernail file and went over it a couple of times on both of them, and it smoothed it right out. So here I'm just attaching the zip tie to the top portion here, and then as I have these both connected, I can make sure to line up the edges exactly where I want them, and I kind of overlap them so it looks like one piece there. So this just looks like a continuous cylinder shape here that was made like this and welded like this, and you're not seeing that it was a piece that you put together that was like a flat piece. And I just tightened those zip ties both at the top and at the bottom. Now, one trick that I do is, because there's all of these little extra pieces here that do want to kind of keep that flat shape that this originally had. So if you lightly blast it with a heat tool, I'm sure maybe even a hairdryer might get hot enough to do this. You just want to kind of bend these pieces in. Just be careful not to burn yourself, but I'm just blasting those, bending them inward a little bit, so that way they kind of have a curve to them rather than kind of stick out. You can kind of see at the top there, those little curvy pieces are kind of more sticking out rather than bending in. So I just take my time and go through and blast each little section and kind of give that a little bend so that way it takes its shape. I flip it upside down, and I also blast the base of this to kind of give a little bit more curvature to that solid base piece there. So I'm just running my heat tool along that, and then I will just kind of bend it into shape here, more into a cylinder here, so you can kind of see how I do that. I even will like roll it on the table just to give it a nice curvature to all of the pieces, so that way it doesn't, I mean, we want this to look high end. We don't want it to look like it's a piece of plastic. We really are trying to go for that look to fool somebody that it's like actual metal. As I did this, I realized there's a little gap on that space at the end. And so when I set it up, I was just kind of seeing how it looked, and I did need to close that a little bit. So I'm just putting a little bit of hot glue down in there, and then I will just clamp that with just some of the Dollar Tree clamps to hold that until that dries. And that's just going to seal that there at the bottom, and that way it will sit nice and flush. So now you can see we have this perfect cylinder shape, and I did take it outside into my garage and I spray painted it with this spray paint here. I'm loving this color. It's not quite a white and it's not super creamy, but it works really well with plastics, and it has a matte tone to it. So I really like the way that it looks on this metal here. It's not metal, it's plastic, but you get what I'm saying. So now I just want to have this have a little bit of an aged look. And so we want some of that black to come through. At least I do. You could definitely skip this step if distressing things was not your style. But I go along all of the edges with my fingernail file, and this is just going to let some of that black show through. So it looks like it's been actual wrought iron that was painted, that maybe has sat and aged for a long time. We're going for that really authentic, like vintage look here. I go through all of the little curves, as you can see here with my fingernail file. I stick that in, and anywhere it looks like natural aging might occur, I'm just going to take my time and focus on that. I even take my fingernail and kind of go over some of the edges there. The paint is fairly easy to scrape off on here, and so it was very easy to do that. So now you could stop and leave it just like this, but I really wanted to make this have a very wintry vibe, look like winter wonderland. So I'm taking some Mod Podge, and then I also bought, this is just some fake snow that I bought, like a glittery snow. I bought it at Walmart, and I also have a couple different sizes of glitter that I'm using. I saw one of these at Vintage Market Days that had this really cool finish with the glitter, and I really loved the way that it looked, very wintry. You could easily leave it, and then you could have this for all year long. But again, I just really wanted to bring that really glistening look to it. So here I'm using my Mod Podge, and this is in one of those containers I got at Dollar Tree. I put my antiquing wax in it, and a lot of you messaged me and said it would be perfect for Mod Podge. So thank you for the suggestion. I totally listened, and I have my Mod Podge in one of those containers, and it's really easy to just squirt along all of the edges of this. And you don't have to be super perfect, because you're going to, as you can see, I'll like smush it down into all of my mixture of the different glitters and that snow. And I just go, you can see I'm not super careful, but you know, you want a decent amount on there. Just depends on how much glitter you want. And I just will roll it in there, and this just really gives it a nice shimmer and shine. I am not normally a big glitter fan. However, at Christmas time, I really do like a little bit of that sparkle. I feel like if you're gonna do it, that's the time of the year. So again, it's a matter of personal preference. You could stop here, but we're just going for a really fun wintry sparkle look. I am really happy with the final result. I really think this looks very beautiful. I love the contrast with that white color, the shimmer, and then that rustic looking tree. I just picked this tree up at the local craft store. You can get any type of tree or any type of flower or something to stick in there, but I really think this does bring that woodsy vibe into your home for Christmas with a little sparkle. I saw something similar to this project scrolling through the internet, and I was originally going to gather my own sticks that I had to do this, but I found this little bundle of sticks that had the snow and glitter covering to them at Hobby Lobby. It was $5, and then so half off, so it was $2.50. And it meant that I didn't have to go gather together sticks of wood, cut them to the right size, and bundle them together. So if you have a lot of sticks and you want to do that, by all means, take that route. But I did find these at Hobby Lobby. If you have access to one of those, or maybe even another craft store, might have something similar. I found these little trees at Walmart, and I bought 3 of them because I thought I would kind of stack them in here almost like they were growing. This is just kind of a little woodsy vignette that we're going for. Just something perfect to tuck into the background of your Christmas decor that you have, just to bring that greenery in and that nice rustic outdoor look with they look like logs, but it's really like the sticks, but it's kind of giving the impression of a log there. And so I'm just arranging these in here, and then once I have my placement, I'll go in with some hot glue just to make sure that they stay there. You wouldn't have to do this step if this is something that you maybe were going to dismantle at the end of the season and use them for another project, or set it up each year or use them for different projects. But in order to have them be more permanent, just stick a little bit of hot glue in there. Now it was beautiful just like this as it was, and I'm just making sure to get, before that glue dries, all of the trees positioned exactly how I want them. But I felt like it was missing a little something. So I have this bag of different mosses from the craft store, and I thought it would be kind of fun and give it more of an earthy look, kind of that woodsy look. Honestly, as I was putting this together, I kept hearing the song, like the Over the River and Through the Woods. For some reason, I really just felt like that song and this piece spoke to me together. And so I really just wanted to make it look as natural and woodsy as I could. So there was this little bit of moss, or I'm not even sure what this is, but it was in this package and it had this beautiful tone to it and texture. So I just glued that around the base of the trees to just give another bit of embellishment and texture to this piece. Now I'm also taking a little bit of the brown. It is almost like a reindeer moss, but it's kind of this like brown natural color. I did not glue these pieces in. However, if you want to do that, you definitely could. But the different sticks held it very well. So you can see I'm just kind of pushing it in with my scissors, or use your pliers or something, and it held it really well. Now this is completely optional. You guys are going to have to tell me if you like this piece on here or not, but I had this little reindeer from Dollar Tree, and I thought that it would be really elegant and a really fun touch to add this. You could do any other kind of piece of ornament on here. A little red truck might be really cute if you had a more realistic looking deer, or a little fox or something to set on there. But I really did like the way that the deer looked. But I'll show you both ways so you can let me know. This is just the plain way. I'm very happy with how this turned out. I think this, again, it's maybe not going to be your main centerpiece in your decor, but tucked in to bring that greenery and that woodsy look, I think is going to be beautiful. And I really do love the sparkle that was on this bundle of sticks. I really thought that was fun. Now here it is with the deer. There is just something about this. It has a little bit of more of a high-end look, I feel like, with that. But again, just the minimalist look is very beautiful too. Let me know in the comments if you like the deer or if you would leave it out. I found this bag of potpourri at Hobby Lobby, and it had the most beautiful smell. It's called like gilded pine, it looks like there, but it had such a wonderful smell to it. And as I was looking at it, I noticed that it was primarily pine cones, and that it had a few other little embellishment pieces here. And I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do with this, but as I was opening this and looking at it, I was so excited with all the pieces in here that you could use to do projects with, and not have to just use it as a bowl of potpourri. It's kind of like a bowl filler type. So you get like that little wood slice in there. There's like a little pear that's in there, all these other little pieces, but I'm mainly wanting to use the pine cones for this project that I'm going to do. So I just take everything out and set it all in categories so I know exactly what I'm working with. Now this is just a styrofoam ball, and I'm going to make a kissing ball. And make sure that when you make this, that you want to have a smaller size styrofoam ball, because they get big quick and you don't want it to be overly big. Now I'm just taking some of the jute twine from Walmart that's thicker, not quite a rope, but it is thicker, because that's what we're going to use to hang this with. So this is what I start with. I find where I want the top of my kissing ball to be, and as you saw, I just poke a hole in it with my scissors, and I'm just putting some glue in there, and then I am going to stick this down the jute with the knot and push that down in. And you just want to be careful, because you know with hot glue and styrofoam it does create a little bit of a reaction, so you just want to be careful as you're doing this. But you do really, I personally feel like the hot glue is necessary to kind of get that immediate hold and have a filler in the holes that you're creating. Now I'm going to start with putting the white pine cones on, because I had less of those and I really wanted to have a nice symmetrical look to this. So I'm just using a little bit of Beacon's glue that's going to give you more of a permanent hold there, with a little bit of hot glue in the middle that'll give you kind of that instant hold. that was the mixture that I used. If you know something better or you have another method that you like using, definitely do that. But I'm just starting to place these kind of in a symmetrical way from the top. So I start with a couple pine cones on the side. I go twist it around and do the other sides, and then I also do like another one on the bottom. Just trying to space these pretty evenly at this point as a good starting point. And then after I get all of the white ones on that I want, I move on to just my plain pine cones. But I would say, I don't even know how many pine cones I end up putting on here, but a fair amount. I don't cover the entire thing. You'll see I put some greenery and everything in here, but you can kind of see it's looking almost like a piñata or something at this point. But it really is just kind of spacing them, looking where there's a hole, going, oh, I could put another little pine cone here. But at this point, I wanted to start adding some greenery. So I have these little picks. I got these. They ended up being like $1 from Hobby Lobby. And I just cut all of the little pieces off. And I end up using each little piece, even the little holly leaves. I really wanted this to look so full and beautiful. I've seen these kissing balls go for lots of money, and so it was really fun to create my own. And not to mention, you guys, this potpourri smells fantastic. And even my kids came in when I was making this, and they were like, what smells so good? And so when I hang this kissing ball, I'm going to hang it from my light in my entryway. It's going to make it smell so beautiful. It's just a different way to have potpourri that's not quite so obvious or sitting in a bowl. It's just kind of a fun thing to work with. Now I have this is boxwood that I'm putting in here, and I had a lot of it, so I started with that, and I just poke a little hole with a dowel. I put a little hot glue down in the hole, and then I stick in each little sprig. And that is how I attach all of the greenery. So all of the greenery that I add is the same method here. I take my little dowel, I poke a hole in there, I put some hot glue in, and it will kind of start to bubble a little bit. And then I will just take my piece that I have and stick it right down in and hold it for a second, so that way it affixes and kind of gets that hold to it. Now, I really love this greenery that I have here. It came from Hobby Lobby, and I don't know what it's called. I don't know if it's like a juniper almost. But when I held it up, I realized that I didn't like the way that it was shaped, or not shaped, but the way that it was sitting. I wanted it to flow downward rather than be sticking out. So just keep that in mind. Hold up your kissing ball every once in a while and see how everything's falling or flowing. Twist it around and look at it from every angle, just to make sure you're filling in any gaps. And I work with each individual piece, like I'll do one type of greenery and finish all of that before I move on to the next one. That way I make sure that I get it spread evenly around the entire ball. And I chose kind of a medium sized, I don't even know what size of styrofoam ball this is, but I easily could have gone one smaller and it still would have ended up being pretty big, because they end up being a lot larger than your center ball is. And then I moved on to another type of greenery here, and same thing. And I just kind of twist it, look at where there needs to be something, how far have I spaced it from the last piece. And I'm purposely and intentionally leaving the very top of this blank, because I do want to put some bows or ribbon on the top of it, and then I'll go back in and fill that in. So as I'm doing this, you'll be able to see that I left the top open. Now I just want to point out that over on the left hand side of my screen, I bought a wreath that had some greenery that I really liked. So don't be afraid if you can't find a pick to grab a wreath, and you can just see I'm just pulling the greenery right off of that to use. It had this really shimmery sparkle to it, which I really liked, and it was a different texture. But I couldn't find anything in a pick with it, and I found the wreath and went, oh, I really want this in a pick, and then thought, well, why can't I take it off the wreath? So try that if you can't find exactly what you're looking for. Don't be afraid to buy a wreath just to disassemble it. Now I'm putting in kind of like your more traditional artificial Christmas tree boughs or branches, and that actually takes up quite a lot of space because of how that is full. And so when I stick that in, I'm starting to see the styrofoam disappear, and you can see that the more greenery is taking hold and that it really is starting to all come together. The trick you want to remember when you're making these is that you want to have a lot of different textures and a lot of different shapes and colors of your greenery, and you could easily add some florals into here if you want to bring some color in. I think some like red berries or even those dark burgundy berries would look beautiful, some white ones if you wanted to bring in some white poinsettias, anything like that, silk flowers, anything would look beautiful in this. So this is another thing that you can kind of make your own, just depending on what you have in your stash, what your style is, the look you're going for. I typically add a lot of red berries to my projects because I really do love bringing in that red tone at Christmas. But this year, so far, I'm really loving this kind of woodsy, the natural tones. Now it came with, I think these are chestnuts, but you guys, I don't really even know for sure. So if they're not, I don't know, but I add those in, and I really loved the brown tone that it brings in. And that was just part of that potpourri. This is just a quick reminder that this is part of a collaboration, so when you're done with my video, click that link in my description box to head right over and see all of the other Christmas DIY inspiration. Now once you're done kind of with all of your greenery and you're want to start covering up the rest of that styrofoam, what I'm doing here is I'm pulling things back so it exposes the styrofoam you can see. I'll drop some hot glue down in there, and then I'm using some reindeer moss, and I just get this at Dollar Tree, but you can get it at any craft store. And using my dowel, I just tuck that down in to cover up any of the styrofoam that's exposed so you don't see that. This is what really elevates the project to be not look so homemade or anything. It really gives it a professional touch because it covers all of that white that might be poking through. And it just, if you were to see a natural one of these that was made from a florist, it would have this all over the base of the kissing ball as well. And then if you have some hot glue strings, just blast it with your heat gun to kind of get those to melt and go away. If you have plastic greenery, just be very careful not to melt that. Now, just as a side little hack here, I have a bunch of this potpourri that's left over. So all I'm doing, and of course you probably want to take your price tags off. I was just playing around with this at this point, but I just put the rest of that wreath in there and threw some greenery down into the bottom of a bowl. And I thought it would be kind of fun to stack the rest of this potpourri on here. So that way I could just set it on a table or something like that. I was really just trying to clean up my craft table, but I thought, well, let's try and put it into a bowl. And you can just see how easy it is that I had enough to do this project with, and then enough to make a beautiful bowl here. So that way you can have that scent go through your entire room that you're using. And trust me when I say this smells absolutely heavenly and just like Christmas. And they had a couple of different scents that you could choose from. I just really loved this pine smell here, but you can see how absolutely much of this potpourri that you actually get, and it is really, really nice and really good. And so it comes from Hobby Lobby, just to remind you, and I was very, very happy with it. For the top of the kissing ball, you can see I have that styrofoam space there still left around my hanger, and I thought it would be really beautiful to add some full natural looking bows. Now you could totally do whatever you wanted and have this kissing ball be completely covered in the pine and the pine cones and everything, but I really loved this birch ribbon that I have from Dollar Tree, and then this natural looking burlap ribbon. I am not the best bow maker in the world, so I don't even know how to explain to you what I did here, other than I just kind of did some loops with the ribbon, and then I put a zip tie, and you could easily use like a pipe cleaner or chenille stem. I'm not sure which is the correct way to call one of those, but it was some wire, anything like that would work, but I just used a zip tie. And then in order to put these on my kissing ball, I kind of just made a big hole for each of the bows here, and just a decent size that I could tuck the tails, and I'll do the best I can to show you here, but I put a bunch of hot glue down in there, and then the ends of the ribbon that were there from where I put that zip tie, I just shoved those down into that with the glue. And then I even end up grabbing like my scissors or my pliers here, and I just kind of will stick that down in to hold that, because it is such a massive amount of bow that I have there that I'm getting to take hold. But it does hold very well, and it works pretty good to do this. And I do end up trimming that little piece of the zip tie off, so don't worry too much about that. But you can see I just made my hole here for the burlap ribbon, and that was big enough for that little piece to stick down into there. And then you just fill it really good with some hot glue, and you can kind of see I'm just making it really cavernous there, so it is a pretty decent size, and just filling that with the hot glue. Now, if you have something better to do with the top of yours, or you have a different method to do this, I totally understand. It was just one of those things that I was like, this is gonna work if I do this. And you can see I tuck that ribbon down in there. And I mean, this sucker's not going anywhere. It really does hold really well. And you could even do a bow where you mix the ribbons together. I just thought it would be fun to kind of have from one side one bow, another side the other, and kind of as it spins, you kind of have both looks there. I just thought they looked really beautiful together. And then I go back in around the bows, and I'm just taking a couple little pieces from that potpourri to add to cover any spaces that might be there. This is the final result, and oh my gosh, it is absolutely beautiful and stunning. And if you guys could smell this, you would know why I'm so excited about this piece, because I really think it is so fun to take something like a bag of potpourri and make something beautiful like this with just a few extra picks that you might have, or some green foliage. And again, use your imagination, make this your own to fit your own decor. But I love the idea of bringing the potpourri into your home and having it in something else, and people are going to smell this beautiful smell in your home and not realize where it's coming from. And not only that, but you have such a show-stopping piece with this kissing ball. I would love to know your thoughts on this piece. I recently went to a craft show and saw this booth that had all of these different beautiful ornaments, and there was this very beautiful rustic star, and I wanted to kind of replicate that. Now, I found this tree topper. It's like a mini tree topper from Walmart, and I'm just removing the little spring that you would use to put it to the top of the tree. And I loved the kind of wicker that was on here. I'm not exactly sure what this is, if it's like reed or if it's wicker or what, but it had a really good tone to it. And I just am using my little wire cutters there to get that sharp piece off, and that way I don't have that. And I'm thinking in my head like, oh, I can use this spring for something else. So as a true crafter, I just set it aside for another project. Now I'm just using some antiquing wax just with a brush here to cover up this. It's a beautiful color the way that it is, but I really wanted it to have a more dark feel to it, as like a dark wood or bark of a tree or something like that. So that's what I'm going for here. So I just cover the entire star front and back, and then I wipe the excess back with a paper towel or a baby wipe. And if there's anywhere when you do this that it moves the wicker around, I just go back in and touch it up. I take just some fencing wire that I have from our farm, and I make just a little loop with it and stick it through one of the ends of the star here to be the top of the star. And this is what I will be able to use to hang the ornament with. Now, I had a sign a couple of videos ago that I made another Christmas sign out of, but it was a 4th of July sign, and I took these metal stars off of it, set them aside, and I thought it would be perfect to kind of make these have a little rust look. Now, I'm just stippling some antiquing wax on these and then using my heat tool to dry it to get that little rusty look. But I mean, there's several different techniques that you could do, or you could just leave it silver. I just wanted it to look like it was aged a little bit more and not have quite that stark shine. And I just use some hot glue, and I'm going to place this just right on the front of the star. I really feel like one of the fun parts of making your own ornaments is you can dig into your stash and use some things that you have. You can embellish it to really make it your own, so you can see a piece of inspiration as you're out shopping or scrolling through the internet, and think what you can do to make it match your home and your decor using what you have. And I think that's so fun. So I'm just using some little bits and pieces of some picks that I have Christmas wise, and then I have this cute little, almost like little sticks and these pine cones. And I was originally just taking these off to use the pine cones, but as I was using my cutters to cut them off, I thought it might be kind of fun to have a couple pieces of the little sticks as another little texture to add to the top of this star. I just take my base, which is this little pine bough that I have here, and I'm not even sure what kind of pine this is, so I apologize that I don't know the names. I know there's several different types. It's just a pick that I had a bunch of little pieces of, but I go ahead and put a line of glue and glue those little sticks onto there, and then I have this little like almost sugary coated silvery colored leaves that I add to it, and I do two exactly the same, and then I put them together in the middle so that way they're symmetrical on either side. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about I have the exact same pine bough on each side, done the exact same, and then I'm going to place this onto the top of my star once the glue dries. So I just add a little dab of glue at the top there, and then I will place this down and hold it until it dries, and then I will go back in and add the little pine cones. You can add as many or as little. I mean, you go ahead and make this your own. You're having it match your decor. I do end up putting a little bow on the top of here, but you could easily leave it like this. But you guys know that I absolutely love bows, so let's go put one on here. I have this birch ribbon that came from Dollar Tree, and I didn't do much with it last year. I think I bought it last year. I haven't seen it yet this year. Let me know if you guys have seen this yet in your Dollar Trees. But I didn't really know what to do with it. And this year I've used it in a couple of projects and I'm loving it. So I certainly hope I get to find some more. But you can see it's kind of papery. So I was able to tear it in some strips there to do a thinner bow because I didn't need that huge thick ribbon on there for this little ornament. So I just tie it like this. I just tie like a little shoestring bow and put a little bit of glue on that. I just felt like that birch ribbon really brought that woodsy feel into this, and it was really what it needed. Again, the bow's totally optional, but I really think it makes this look cute. I really love how this ornament came out. I think it's beautiful, and it definitely has a rustic and woodsy vibe to it. I think it's going to be beautiful on my tree, or even just hanging somewhere else that you might have something that you use to hang from like a peg on a shelf or something. I would really like to know if you guys liked how this ornament turned out. Do you guys like making ornaments for your tree? I love having some that are handcrafted because it really means so much more. I think that all of these projects today turned out so beautiful, and I feel like they all look very high end, and they all do such a great job of bringing the outdoor look inside. I am loving the warm and natural tones that come with this woodland look, and I feel that all of these pieces really embody that and really kind of bring that touch in. Do you guys do a lot with the natural tones like this for Christmas? It's not something that I've normally done. I normally do a lot of the like reds and greens and everything, but I really feel like this kind of natural look, it's really speaking to my heart this year. You'll have to let me know if you guys had a favorite piece today. I feel like all together this vignette is beautiful, and I'm so excited to take each of these pieces and use them in my decor. Remember to check out that playlist link that's in my description box and also pinned in my comments, and you guys are going to get all of the Christmas inspiration that you need. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you liked the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.